everyone. Good evening, guys. Welcome to the yard. Can you guys hear me okay back there?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. My name is Brent Markle. I'm a first year, and I'm taking a leadership role in the yard next year. So I just want to kick things off for us tonight. For those of you who haven't been to the yard before, the yard is all about bringing people together to tell stories and just deepen connections within our Sloan community. I think all too often we can get caught up in the busy exam schedule and everything's going too fast, so we just want to slow it down and really build some strong personal connections between each other. Tonight we've got a star-studded crew over here of second years. And it's a special yarn. So tonight we're actually going to have our second years tell very personal stories, but not only that, they're going to share some of their reflections and learnings on their time here at Sloan. So I'm going to, and one last point is it's part of passing the torch on to the first years who are going to be in their shoes next year. So with that, I'd like to hand things off to Shireen Taligani, who's going to lead us off with our first story.
Thank you guys so much for coming. This is such a privilege to be standing up here and talking to you guys. How many of you have been to a yarn before? Okay, so a little more than half. I've been to a few, and when I was first asked to speak, I was a little hesitant because I've just been so humbled and awed by the experiences that I've heard on stage by our classmates. But in the framework of just some learnings that I've taken away from Sloan, I thought I had a few nuggets I wanted to pass on. So the theme of tonight for me is really consistently reminding yourself why you're at Sloan and sharing the goals that you have for yourself and the vision you have for yourself with the Sloan community, because they will hold you accountable. And my story is going to be how this Sloan community absolutely held me accountable for why I wanted to come to Sloan. So before I jump into that, I want to give you a little more context about who I am and really just how focused I am in life. A middle school survey surfaced a few years ago that I took in response to what do you want to be when you grow up. So 11-year-old Shireen Taligani's response was a lawyer, a farmer, a rancher, a soccer player, and a tennis player. So unbelievably focused. And carried that focus with me to Penn. I graduated in 2006, and naturally the two jobs that I was deciding between were a leadership role in restaurant management for the Houston's chain restaurant and an account manager in online advertising for Google. So again, really focused about where I wanted to take my career. Decided on Google, was at Google for 5 years, and then applied to Sloan with a very specific focus to help improve the lives of people with gluten allergies. I wrote my essays on it. I suffer from celiac disease. I really wanted to help people who suffer like me. So that was kind of my platform coming to Sloan. And I carried that momentum of just getting into school, super excited. I sat down with my core team. Actually, Ashley, who's going to be one of our speakers tonight, was on my core team, and we were reflecting about how that first day in the Marriott when you're with your team, I was just like, guys, I want to do the startup thing. I'm allergic to everything on the plate, and we're going to make this happen. I'm going to use Sloan to do this. So I was really vocal about what I wanted to do. And I remember in comm, that one of the last classes in comm during core, I stood up in one of those roundtable impromptus, and I stood there and I declared to my communications class, I had Professor Halfrey, and I said, I'm dedicating my life to helping people live healthier lives, and I'm starting with one gluten-free consumer at a time. This is happening. I declared it. So then fast forward, winter 2012 last year, going through the internship search, and I'm looking at, naturally the focus was back, and I was looking at a consulting role for the National Park Service and a product marketing role for Facebook. So yeah, a time of exploration, really just, that's what Sloan's about as well, just trying a lot of new things, but there was clearly a disconnect. And my first anecdote about just the community holding me accountable was a very random run-in in the Denver airport. In winter of 2012, I was returning back to Boston after a brief weekend trip, and I passed this intellectual looking man just sitting in an empty gate. It was me and this man. I sat down next to him, and I looked over, and it was Professor Haffrey in Denver International. And how many of you guys have had Professor Haffrey for a class? Okay, so you know the signature Haffrey move where he pulls down his glasses and he's just like, "Hello, Shireen." And I was like, "Hello, Professor Haffrey." And I had the great privilege of talking to him for a few hours in the Denver International Airport, but we got into this real meaty, soul-searching discussion about life, which happens with Haffrey, whether you pass him in the halls or in Denver International. And I was telling him about my summer search and what I was thinking, and he looked at me and he's like, weren't you doing the gluten-free thing? Like, you came here to start a business and focus on entrepreneurship, so how does this fit into that plan? And I was like, yeah. Just let it sit there for a moment. This kind of uncomfortable realization that Haffrey was calling me out, and that was the first aha where it was like, okay, I get it. So why am I not doing that? And the truth is, I was absolutely terrified, and I had no idea where to begin. I didn't have the sort of courage to put together a team and go after it. And there's so many resources at Sloan, but until you fully just commit to what you want, it's hard to take advantage of all the resources. So I went to Facebook for the summer. Facebook's an amazing place, but it was a tough summer for me because I think mostly I just wasn't committing to myself and what my real interests were. And mitigation of Shireen not following her dreams was two Sloanies that were there over the summer, Ricky and Deborah, and over some organic quinoa salad at lunch every day. Ricky Jane was just like, Shireen, you gotta go for it. Like, you don't really know what it is, but it involves gluten-free and entrepreneurship, and you gotta just think about what you want to do and dedicate it your next year to Sloan to that. And I did, and so I committed to it. I committed in the salad bar at Facebook to really focusing on trying to launch a business. And I met my technical co-founder that summer. It's one of those examples of once you actually commit, all these doors will open up. And so I came to the second year of Sloan fully committed to choosing classes and networking and thinking about who I need to meet to just form this business. And what it was a detection system to detect gluten protein in foods. And I was like, okay, I'm at MIT, I better do something techy like that. And I've stayed mostly on course this year, with the exception of I met the CEO of Burger King at an event, and I was telling him, how passionate I am about the gluten-free market, and I can't eat anything on the menu, and I want to eventually open a chain of gluten-free restaurants. And he was like, wow, that's interesting, you have a lot of passion, come interview at Burger King. And luckily I have my fiance and fellow second year Kevin had to step in, and he was like, Shireen, why are you here? You've told, at this point, the entire Boston area that you're gluten-free and you want to start a business, and the entire Sloan area, stay true to why you're here. And I was like, you're right. He's like, you can't really start a business if you're going to do marketing for Burger King in Miami. So Kevin stepped in, and it's just a great, I just really wanted to stand up here tonight to thank this entire community, because I'm committing to starting and launching this product, and it might last, hopefully it'll last more than a few months. Maybe we'll go public, who knows, but I won't know unless I give it a go. And I could not have done it without all of you. From David Goldman and Nick Holda spending an hour with me last semester, every week, Wednesday in the Trust Center, and just helping me figure out my ideas, to Taylor connecting me with chemical engineers he's spoken to once, and Kevin just always keeping me on track, Brent being a sounding board. I mean, all of you, every time I pass you, you give me so much energy, and I think that Sloan for me has been an enormous necessity and privilege to be here with you guys, call you my classmates, and and my absolutely fantastic friends. So in sum, please remind yourself why you're here, share that with other people, and this community will keep you inspired and move you forward wherever you're meant to be. So thank you so much.